Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board our EasyJet service. Please place your large bag in the locker, wheels first, and keep your small items under the seat in front of you. These include laptops, handbags, duty-free items of clothing. Once you have safely stowed your cabin bag, please take your seat. To help us ensure a prompt departure, we would kindly ask that you keep the aisle clear, enabling all remaining customers to...
So we have the jet bridge, air stairs connected, ground power unit and baggage truck. Fuel is loading with 4 minutes left and passengers are loading as well. So whilst that's all happening, I've connected to a live ATC and there's a few stations online. Get the aircraft set up to receive. Batteries on. Emergency exit lights set to arm. Seatbelts and no smoking lights on. Navigation lights on and beacon on. Ground control goes on with external power. External power is connected, so we can turn that on. Supply ground control, CDR test. GPS is all set to nav. You always switch on the fuel tanks when that's loaded. And that's pretty much the overhead panel set right now. Just do a test of the APU fire and engine fire. Act 2 can go off until we are airborne. Cool. Turn the brightness up on the screens, PFD, NFD, and the ECAMs, and the FMS. And that all the way up. Turn these lights up as well, and the first officers. Okay. So the doors are locked. All of this will come on shortly. And get the weather, which we'll get on the ATIS actually. So we have, in terms of radio, we have Manchester ATIS.
QNH1024, threshold QFE1015, acknowledge receipt of information Golf, and advise aircraft type on first contact.
Okay, so we just take a note of all of this.
Time 2150. Automatic. Runway in use 23 right. Transition level, flight level 60. Surface wind 2. Bearing 180 and 40. 10 kilometers or more. Overcast 3000. Temperature +9. Dew point +6. QNH 1024. Threshold QFE 1015. Acknowledge receipt of information Golf, and advise aircraft type on first contact. Manchester information Golf, time 2150 Zulu.
Okay, so we've got the ATIS information. I've made a note of most of that. We'll set the QNH and make sure our runway, active runway is 23 right in our flight plan. Transition level, flight level 60, and yeah, the rest of that is acknowledged. I just tuned into Manchester ground to see if there's any traffic there. Quiet at the moment. 1024 is the QNH, we'll set that up here. And in the standby instrumentation, is that set. GPS is aligned and still got 7 minutes real time. What else did I say? Yeah, okay. Not bad. So whilst that's doing that, we will set our flight computer up. And this is going to pull in the information from the online service that I've logged it with. So it's got our route, which is Manchester to Prague, alternate, and flight number, cost index, which calculates the maximum sort of speeds and altitude, etc. And our cruise flight level of 37,000 feet. Okay, and then over here is where we put in the fuel information. We are going to have a total of 6 tons of fuel. We will just write that in as 6.0. Zero fuel weight and zero fuel weight center of gravity we need to get from the computer, the tablet. So we go to payload. Passengers are in, so we've got the current payload is 58.9, zero fuel weight, and the center of gravity of 33.23%. 58.9, 33.2. Pop that in there. And then that calculates the rest of that information there. And then we set 33.2% on the trim, stabilizer trim wheel, which is this one down here, 33.2. We can't set that until the engines are running. What else do we have? Performance. Going to be taken off the flaps 1, and the elevation is. So we can log into charts here. And I can see airport chart. Parking stands will probably want as well. Airport elevation is 257 feet. We want to be 1,000 above for safety and engine out. So, and thrust reduction, so 1,250. Transition altitude, we know is 6,000 feet. Engine out acceleration is 1,250. Flex takeoff temperature, don't know what that is, so we'll use full toga power, takeoff go around power, and then we'll let the computer calculate the V1, rotate, and V2 speeds automatically. And then we pop in a flight plan. So you have got part of the flight plan populated already from the online service. What we need to do is enter our departure from Manchester. We're going to our first waypoint is Sonex, so it's going to be a Sonex route. And if we look on the computer at our routing for the flight plan, we're going from 23 right, Sonex 1 Romeo departure. So we can pop that into the computer. Manchester departure 23 right. And it was a Sonex. Let's be Sonex 1 Romeo. Alright. Sonex 1 Romeo, yeah. That's the standard instrument departure, or SID. Insert that into the plan. We should get clearance from ATC for that as well. Discontinuity in the flight plan, we just delete that. Those points should match up and meet in the middle. RadNav, radio navigation. If we check the charts for the Sonex 1 Romeo departure, we should see Sonex 1 Romeo. This one here, in that. We've got a 113.55 beacon, Manchester. That's the only one, so MCT, we can pop into here. MCT. On that. That's pretty much it at this stage. We just want the flight plan and departure to be confirmed by ATC. Look outside, we've got the stairs have been disconnected. So what we can do now is assume the passengers have boarded, which if we check on here, that should confirm. Oops. Yeah, they've been boarded. Okay, so we need to call up and get clearance from ATC, first and foremost. Ground is online, so we will just contact them. I just want to double check what stand we're at the airport. Do that by cross-referencing the airport chart, and we can see that we are on Pier B, 2/3 down. We'll check the parking stands. Zoom out. Pier B, 2/3 down. We're on stand 9, I reckon. Okay, so we'll call up for a radio check with Manchester ground. Manchester ground, easy 48 Juliet, radio check.
Easy 48 Juliet, Manchester ground, University 5.
Thank you very much. Manchester ground, easy 48 Juliet with you, information Golf, QNH1024, Airbus A320neo. Request clearance to Prague, please.
Easy 48 Alpha Juliet, you're clear to Prague. It's the Sonic 1 Romeo departure for 2701.
Cleared to Prague via the Sonics 1 Romeo departure, score 2701, 48 Alpha Juliet.
Easy 48 Alpha Juliet, be back correct. Manchester QNH 1024.
Copied, thanks. 2701 in the box. Sonics 1 Romeo departure in the box as well. QNH 1024, that is all good to go. And then what we do is we get the truck, pushback truck ready. And while that's doing that, okay, it's just going to keep pushing us back. We'll have to wait until we've got clearance. So whilst that's doing that, we switch on the APU bleeds and the APU master switch. Three seconds, turn on the APU, strobes to auto as well. Also need to turn on the fuel pumps. We also need to switch the EFIS option to constraints, so we see the waypoint constraints on the map, and set the radio navigation to 4-1, so we get the indication as to where we need to be flying towards or away from 4-1. See on the bottom ECAM, we can see the bleed pressure in the APU and the status of the APU, which is currently coming online. Exhaust gas temperature is rising, N1 is rising, and we've got some voltage in APU generator. So now the bleed's on, APU bleed, and this will say APU available. Once that does that, we can then switch off external power and generators switch over to the APU. We can then disconnect the external GPU as well, which is already disconnected actually. It's good. Easy 48 Alpha Juliet, stand 9, request push on start please. What is going on here? Funny business going on. 185, yeah. Easy 48 Alpha Juliet, stand 9, request push and start please.
Easy 48 Alpha Juliet, stand 9, push start approved, press out.
Place self, push start approved, easy 48 Alpha Juliet, thanks. Okay, so now that's been approved, we can press the tug and start pushing us backwards. Release the park and brake, and then set the switch to ignition. Turn on engine 1, and we should start to see some stuff happening. Set the timers to go, and we need to face the south, so we are reversing back and to the right. So just keep an eye on that.
Manchester ground ferry seating E53 Lima Alpha. EZ53 Lima Alpha, Manchester ground. Taxi to stand 24 via Alpha Delta Echo November Charlie and Romeo. Stand 24 via Alpha Delta Echo November Charlie and Romeo, EZ53 Lima Alpha.
Don't mind that clock hit. Engine number 1 has started successfully. Generator switched to engine, so we're going to start number 2. And the method of checking this is the engine is successfully started once the grey background of the N2 has gone out, and also you want roughly 2, 4, 6 across N1, EGT and N2. So N1 is almost 20, EGT is almost 400, and N2 is at 60 or above. So 2, 4, 6. That's good. Let's check where the position is. Line it up nicely. Get that around a little bit tighter. And straighten us out. We stop there, to be fair. I can brake on. Disconnect the tug. Set auto brake to maximum for any rejected takeoff. Arm the ground spoilers, set flaps 1. Engines have all started, so set ignition to normal. APU bleed can go off, and the APU can go off. What else do we need to set? Beacon's already on, taxi lights come on, and pack 2 stays off. What's the initial climb on the Sonics 1 Romeo? Turn off that. Chart. For Sonics 1 Romeo. Got an initial climb between 5,000 ceiling and 2,500, so we're probably going to set that to 5,000 initially. Yeah. Somebody taxiing in. Flight control check. See on the lower ECAP display. Okay, that's all looking good. Good. Push the lower ECAMs at engines. Set the MCDU to perf. And call for taxi. I'm going to get a idea of where we're going to be taxiing from the chart. It's going to be from our position, which is JE. We're going to go along, so we're going to runway 23 right, which is up the top. So we're going to go along JE, probably up J to either Mike 1 or J1. Just confirm that with ATC. EZ4 Alpha Juliet, request taxi please.
EZ48 Alpha Juliet, taxi to holding point Juliet 1, 23 right via Juliet Echo, Foxtrot and Juliet.
Taxi to hold a point Juliet 1 via Juliet Echo, Foxtrot and Juliet EZ48 Alpha Juliet. So once we get along on our taxi, he's going to hand us off to the tower for departure. So that's 118.625. We'll set that standby. 118.625. Okay, so we just switch over to that. When we're ready, taxi clearance has been given, so we can now taxi the aircraft out. Get our cameras set up, landing system on, gives us a bit of guidance when we take off. And then on the upper ECAN we've got this checklist now, so auto brake set the max is done, signs are on, cabin check, we just come up here and call the cabin. That gives a little ding dong. That goes out, takeoff configuration check, with that button there, predictive wind shear is off, we'll turn that on. Spoilers are set, flaps are set, stick that to T8, and we're good to taxi. Get a bit of power just to get going. Back down to off. So we need to make sure we're going along the right place. Juliet, Echo, onto Foxtrot, Juliet. So yeah. Reference, although most of that will be done by GPS anyway.
Easy 48 Alpha Juliet, contact tower now 118.625, have a good flight.
Thanks tower 118.625, easy 48 Alpha Juliet, thanks, good night.
Okay.
Now we just slow down the taxi, switch to the tower. Manchester Tower, easy 48 Alpha Juliet, approaching Juliet 1 for runway 23.
Easy 48 Alpha Juliet, good evening Manchester Tower, fire Juliet 1, wind at 2208 knots, runway 23, ready clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, easy 48 Alpha Juliet, thanks. So I think we're at Juliet 1 anyway. Yeah. Taxi on, strobes go on when we enter a runway. Landing lights go on, nose wheel goes to taxi out, take off, sorry. Clear for takeoff means we are cleared onto the runway.
Easy 48 Alpha Juliet, just get to traffic information, winds just changed to 24014 knots now.
Ooh, breezy, thanks very much, 48 Alpha Juliet. Laser on the runway, that goes to TARA auto. Make sure we're still straight, we are. Just going to stop here for a second. Brake on. Landing lights are on, strobes are on, nav lights are just turned off by mistake. Seatbelt signs are on, pack 1 wants to go off. APU's off, seatbelt lights are on. We're ready to take off. Spool the engines a little bit. Park and brake off. Full power. Checked. Maintaining center line now with the... actually taking off now with the trim. Rotate there. Positive rate of climb. Gear up. I'm just using the flight directives on the private flight display now. We can turn on reduce power to the climb to 10. Is there. Whereabouts?
Easy 5 Alpha Juliet, departure confirmed, coverage 122 decimal 8, goodbye.
Unicorn 122 decimal 8, easy 48 Alpha Juliet, thanks, good night. So now we've been cleared to Unicom, which is the sort of the monitoring frequency for when there's no live ATC online. Just switch over to that. Flaps down and ground spoilers off. Need to turn on the air conditioning for the passengers and recycle the seatbelt sign like that. Okay. Approaching 5,000 feet, and let's get them off. Those will go off. So we're now hitting our altitude constraint of 5,000 feet, which is signified in the standard instrument departure. 5,000 ceiling, round to Sonics, which is our departure waypoint. And the first waypoint of our flight plan. Transition altitude is 6,000 feet, we're not past that just yet, so we leave the QNH, the barometric pressure reference to the airport barometric pressure, which is 1024 hectopascals. Don't change that until we pass the transition altitude, or if we've been cleared to a flight level. Hazy, early afternoon in Manchester. There are shadows cast in the cockpit here. Wishing to turn like that. Beautiful. We're soon approaching Sonics. We're going to imagine we've been cleared to our cruising altitude of 37,000 feet, so we're just going to pop that into the MCP. And then we'll do it, we'll pull the stick back, and that opens up to the mode to open climb. And as we're clearing ourselves to 37,000, we're going to push standard pressure, pull standard pressure. There we go, standard pressure. So now we're coming out of the departure en route in our flight plan. We can now clear radio navigation, turn off port 1 and clear radio navigation. Ready for when we pop it all in for the departure, for the approach. We're in the climb phase, so the aircraft's going to cruise along at a certain selected managed speed that was predetermined. 9,000 feet and almost at 10,000 we'll turn off the landing lights and we'll release the cabin crew, and then we will release the passengers as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your seatbelt fastened while the seatbelt sign
That is pretty much it now until the approach or the descent.
Toilets are located at each end.
I'm not sure we're going to be crossing any air traffic control
This includes
regions. We've got London air traffic control is online, but I don't think it corresponds then. We're en route now down to Prague, and there's no further air traffic control online, so it's just going to be self navigation now as per our flight plan.
We accept payment in pounds, euros, most major currencies, and debit or credit cards. The correct change would be greatly appreciated. And if we can be of any further assistance, then just ask us.
So now we're up at 37,000 feet and we're flying over Germany. It's a good time to get prepared for the descent and the approach. So the way we do that is we check our flight plan. We can also get rid of these pin charts now as well, as they're for the previous airport. So now what we do is we check our flight plan, and we're coming in on the Golub 4 Sierra arrival for Prague runway 24. So we look at the charts for Prague, and we look at the standard terminal arrival, and we look at the Golub 4 Sierra, and we can see that coming in from Golub over there, 4 Sierra is this one here, going down like this and down, and then QVIX is the initial approach fix, which is where the approach will start from. So we've only got one radio, which is 112.6, and not much else information on here to say. Okay, so what we're looking for is a sort of a initial altitude. Golub, the max hold altitude is 5,500, and these legs seem to be at 5,000 and 4,000 feet respectively. So yeah, down to QVIX max hold altitude 4,000. So we're probably going to want to be at 5,000 feet at Golub. So what we'll do to double check that is we'll put Golub into the progress. Like so. That tells us how far away we are, 164 miles. And then in our calculator on here, we'll do 4,000, 5,000 feet as the target altitude. That gives us 100 nautical miles that where we want to start our descent. So we'll keep an eye on the progress page, as that will tell us how far away we are. We're currently 162 miles. Once that gets closer to 100 miles, we'll start our descent down to 5,000 feet. And if ATC was online, we'd probably get step descents down to sort of 17,000 maybe, and then down to 9,000, it depends, but as we don't know the area, we'll just go straight down to 5,000 feet. And then we'll look at the approaches as well. So it's runway 24, we've got an ILS, we've got Cat 2 or Cat 3 ILS, RMP and an NDB. We'll probably go for the RMP runway, which is sort of a GPS approach, but we might take the ILS as well. Weather in Prague is not too bad, Cav OK, 1023, no significant changes, yeah, so it's pretty clear down there, so we can take a visual approach via the GPS approach. And if we take a look at that approach, we can see, so we've got Rasu, So we need to establish where our arrival would bring us into. So our initial fix on the arrival is cubics, but cubics isn't on this chart. So let's just see why that is. 24 for Sierra approach via RNAV. So that gives us 3 transition options: Ratev, Arasu, and then the final. So we probably want the Arasu approach. Yeah, we do, yeah. Okay, so Arasu, so our approach arrival would bring us down to Arasu, and then the approach would start from Arasu and follow that path in. So there's no ILS frequency for this approach, although this airport does have an ILS. We're not going to use it if we can avoid it. We have got a radio VOR 112.6 and a final approach course, so we can plug that in to get VOR guidance. And now we can see the MCDU is telling us to enter destination data. That's because we're approaching sort of top of descent. We're 143 miles away. But what that wants us to do is go to performance page, skip across to the approach page. We're going to land with flaps free, so we'll switch that, and we'll enter in 1023 as the QNH, and 0 degrees I believe is the temperature, and then mag winds we can find on the EFB, 22010 knots, so 220/10 magnetic heading and wind. Transition altitude and barometric references will be on the approach chart, so something like that. So we've got a transition altitude of 5,000, so we'll put that in the box, and we're going to have a barometric reference of so we've got these down here. We've got LPV Cap 1, LNAV VNAV, and then LNAV. So we're going to be flying LNAV VNAV. Decision altitude height is 1,480 feet. We'll run up to 1,500. Yeah, 1,500. This is 20 feet of buffer. And we've got an approach speed 137 and a landing speed of 132. Clean speed of 201, slat speed of 183, and flap speed of 141. So there are speeds at which we can extend the flaps, etc. So now that we've got that entered, we go to the flight plan, click on Prague, we tell it what arrival we're going to do, and it's going to be RNAV runway 24, via the Golop 4 Sierra, via the Arasu. And then that's all inserted into the flight plan. We check for any discontinuities, of which there don't seem to be any. There is one, get rid of that. We've got Arasu in there twice, so we'll just get rid of that, and then we'll get rid of that manual waypoint, and we'll also get rid of Arasu at the top, and then clear out the flight plan discontinuity, and we should be good. Yeah, that's all good. Arasu, PR531, decel, PR532. Yeah, all good. So we've got a mandatory weight altitude constraint of 4,000 feet at PR531. Probably checks out with the arrival. Yeah, 531 is there, 4,000 feet, we listed on here as well. 4,000 feet is where we start the localizer glide slope. Missed approach, climb on 240 degrees to 4,000 feet, radar vector provided, it won't because we've got no ATC. Yeah, so so we'll put 112.6 into the box with a final approach course of 240. Add nav 112.6 course 240. That gives us some sort of indications, but we can also see from the chart that that beacon is offset to the runway, so we don't want to fly directly into it because it's not in line with the runway. It's not on our runway. So here we are now, coming up on 10,000 feet. So now what we can do is we can switch on the seatbelt sign and the runway lights as we get towards 10,000 feet. What we also need to do as well is I've just slowed down the rate of descent to 1,800 feet per minute, just so that we hit 5,000 feet, our altitude constraint around about the waypoint that we're heading to. We've got 5 minutes left and we're at 10,000 feet, so we've got to lose 5,000 feet. So we can actually slow that down to 1,000 feet per minute now. As we've got 5 minutes to go, so 1,000 feet per minute would work out ideal. We're going to cross the transition altitude of 6,000 feet, so we set the QNH barometric pressure to the airfield QNH, which is 1023. Yeah, we're progressing nicely down towards our approach, our arrival. Just going to turn some lights on here so we get some background lighting on these instruments. Switch our primary flight display to constraints so we can see those constraints as we come up on them. You can see 5,000 feet there. I've entered into the Gollop waypoint manually. Then we've got our twisting and bending approach. So if we check the arrival chart, we're approaching Gollop. We're not quite there yet, but we'll get there, and you'll see an indication on the map of our aircraft. And then we're going to go down to PR 516, 517, 518, and then slowly wind that round. And we're actually going to go in 517, 518, and then up to Urasu, which is there, which I didn't actually see initially on the chart. So that's the way we're going to go up to Urasu. That's where our approach starts from. There we go. Come on over the Czechia landscape. So at a certain specified point, usually after the decel point, which is here, the aircraft will switch itself into approach phase, which is when it changes the performance. It sets the limits on the speed and the altitude, etc. But the decel point is between 531 and 532 on the flight plan. If we look at the chart, that's actually on the arrival, so that's quite late in the approach. So if we look at this chart here, 531 and 532, it's just as we turn sort of base leg towards the approach. That's quite late to be configuring. It only gives us what, 5, 10, sort of 15 or so track miles to the runway. So I think as soon as we sort of encroach onto Urasu, I'll be putting the plane into approach mode, slowing it down, setting the flaps, getting the gear out, etc. And we look as if we're pretty low to the terrain, but we're at 7,000 feet, and the MSA is much lower, so we've got 4,000 to the north of the runway, it's 3,600 to the east, 3,200 to the west. So we're well within the MSA, minimum safe altitude. go, so the aircraft icon is now on the map. Inbound Gollop. Now we've got 1 more minute until we're at Gollop. Thereabouts. Yeah, 1 more minute. And we've got to lose 1300 feet, so bang on track for the vertical profile VNAV. There we go, turning on Gollop. I'm just going to put the plane back into managed mode. To manage the descent. Just check we've got everything on here. We've got landing lights on, strobes on, seatbelts on. That will help. Everything else looks good so far. And there we come now to 5,000 feet. So next we don't need to be now at 4,000 feet until Arasu really. Switch to the other chart. Yeah, we don't really need to get down to Arasu until 4,000 feet until Arasu, so we can stick at 5,000 feet for the moment. And then these are our altitude cross checks based on the mileage from the runway. So at 9 miles, we're going to be at 4,000 feet, and then the glide slope starts at PR24F. So that's going to be the sort of the start of the 3-degree descent down to the runway, which is 8.8 nautical miles, so 4,000 feet. So if we're at 4,070 feet, 9 miles out, be a pretty good indicator. So then we'll progress down 5 miles out, we're going to be at 2,800. Screenshots with awesome sunset. Now inbound to Arasu, we're going to start the descent for 1,000 feet down to 4,000, and then we'll activate approach mode. What we also want to do when we get into approach phase is we're just going to set LKPR24 into the progress page, which gives us bearing and distance down to the runway. So at the moment it's on a bearing of 210 degrees, and it's 2.1 degrees, 10.2 miles away. As we join downwind leg into base leg for the runway. Hopefully we don't have the sun in our eyes. Now we're largely lined up for the approach. We've got just switch the light display there to VOR rows, and we can see that the final course is 240 degrees, which is the runway final course. And we've got the ADF on there as well. So now I'm going to put the plane into approach mode. Activate approach phase, confirm. That's now going to bring the speed down. And because we've told the aircraft we're going to land with flaps free, we need to tell the system that we're landing with flaps free, otherwise it won't be happy and will complain. Set all of our forward facing lights to on for visibility, and we'll leave everything else as is. So that's us now turning final. We've got everything set up as it should be. And yeah, we're 14.6 miles away from the OKL VOR, which is actually 13.6 miles away from the runway that we're landed on. So there is a distance between the runway and that VOR. So the speed's now down to this green dot, which is known as the green dot speed, which is when we can set flaps 1, which we're going to do now. And once that's up, yeah, there we go, sunrise. Lovely sunset down beyond the runway. Awesome. So the ADF keeps identifying and then not identifying, which is unhelpful. I'm just going to switch that to VOR. Although we know the VOR is offset from the runway, so that doesn't really help anyone. I'm going to turn that off actually. Zoom this in, and 4,000 feet. So now if we look at the approach chart, we are well into it. We're almost about to start the ascent part, so that's where I'll take over. Switch this to FPA mode, which gives me an indication. Turn off the autopilot and take control. So we want a 3-degree glide path down to the runway from where we are, and this is really where the instrumentation is going to help. Trim the aircraft to 3 degrees nose down, thereabouts. The lag coming in.
2,500.
2,500, we're going to set flaps 2 and gear down. Okay, losing all control of the aircraft there for a second.
2,500. 200. 100 above. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
Touchdown. reversers out. Spoilers are out. Turn it down. 80 knots, put the reversers away, and the brake. I'll take this exit. We made it. Horrible approach with the controls, that's what's happening there. We made the landing, quite a nice landing as well. Just going to pull up to this whole point here, so we're off the runway vacated. And then we can check our taxi out. Taxi in. Park and brake on, and we'll do the cleanup as well. So the cleanup is strobes off. Let's get this light on here. Strobes off, or set to auto. Runway turn off lights off. Landing lights off. We'll set the nose wheel to taxi. And we will turn off the landing flap free warning. And that's about it from there. Just did the AP on just now as well. Down here we turn the transponder to TA, lower the flaps and the ground spoilers, turn off the predictive wind shear radar, reset the rudder trim. We can lower this down and that's about it. So now we just need to check the chart to see where we're taxiing into. Okay, so we've taken this exit here, we want to get into Terminal 1. So we need to go straight on and then left into the apron. And then just follow the taxiways up to the terminal. Park and brake off. Rolling slowly. It's probably one of the better landings I've done in this aircraft recently. This one here. There's a guy disappeared. That's over there, that's one. Nope, don't know where the taxi line is. We'll just stop there. Yeah, not bad. That'll do, it should find us. So then we are now on stand. Park and brake is set. We can turn the engines off. Now flick over to the APU.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cabin crew will shortly be leaving their seats to perform safety-related duties.
We can turn
However,
off
we
the
ask that you
strobes
remain
and
seated until the fasten seatbelt sign has been switched off. Portable electronic devices for messaging, calls or internet access may now be used. Please make sure that you take all your personal belongings with you, checking in the seat pocket,
and as we're on
underneath the
stand,
seat,
what we
and
can
in the
now do
overhead
as
lockers.
well is switch
Do
off the
take care when
transponder.
opening the lockers in case anything falls out. Smoking is not permitted until you reach a designated
lights.
smoking area.
in the cockpit.
On behalf of the
I'd like to
captain
open
and
the
crew,
door.
it has been our pleasure looking after you today. Our ground
Stop
crew
the
will help you
chronometer.
complete your EasyJet journey. For the latest news, promotions, flight and destination information,
And we
check out our
can get
official
services.
Facebook page,
So over
Twitter,
on our
or
tablet,
EasyJet app.
we can go to services, connect the jet bridge, which should
Ladies
move
and
this thing in
gentlemen,
front of
your
us.
portable electronic devices must not be used until you are inside the
Or didn't.
airport. When
We were
disembarking,
parked properly, it
please
would
take care
connect
and
ground
hold onto the
power,
handrail
pull the baggage
while walking
truck.
down the stairs. Please ensure that you supervise your children, and for your own safety,
Go to the baggage
do
truck.
not walk underneath the wing.
Ground power is stuck in the engine apparently. Yeah, frustrating the jet bridge isn't connecting. It usually does. Might be an issue with this airport. External power is not available. Looks like this stands an issue. Yeah, that's frustrating. Nonetheless, we'll finish the shutdown sequence, which is to turn off all the lights and the displays. And then we shall go to the overhead panel. And we'll turn off the both packs, the ADIRs, fuel tanks are off, and we should turn off the overhead lighting and the dome light. I should leave that on for a sec. Turn off the nav lights, beacon, APU bleed, and the APU can go off. That'll leave us on battery power. Then we'll turn off the batteries as well. I'll shut us down completely. That's how we get that A320 to Prague.